Also, I mean, you had to make do. You got to remember the quality of these things was our whole life. Our whole life had a warning sticker on it back then. At least when you grew up in my ghetto or maybe your ghetto, I don't know. But in case you're interested, basically we wore a sign on. You talk about faded and invisible and plastic. Well, we wore a sign that said "Warning: Quality might be suspect." Your shit sounded like the PMRC. Aggressive lyrics on this. Our shit was the following is rated X, and it was a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, a facsimile of a facsimile of a facsimile, a mimeograph of a mimeograph of a lithograph. Yeah. Quality may be suspect. When people say sus now, it's like, yeah, that's that word sus throws me back into the 80s and 90s. Suspect. My whole life was suspect. We grew up entirely like that. The whole shit was we couldn't help it. Our whole our whole existence was counterfeit. And it reflected on us. We felt like shit, I imagine. It couldn't have felt good for everybody. I didn't feel too good. But I loved it at the same time. We couldn't afford to go to the fucking movies. In the ghetto, what you do is you drive into the rich parts of the city that had to get rid of their film real quick, and you could see 3-4 weeks late. But you go to the dollar store movies or the dollar movies. Did I say dollar store? Yeah, the dollar movies. And what the dollar movies were, it was usually a double feature of two, between 3 and 6 month old flops, movie flops that are Hollywood though, and it's a nice outing with your family. And it was a nice theater because you'd go to a rich part of town because that was how rich people cash in on their shit. We didn't have that in the ghetto. There's no Sunday. We don't have a movie theater in the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? So we go into your part of town. We take the bus and we're going to the dock on Sunday, and we'd watch 2 movies. And usually you stop at CVS and you buy candy there, shit like that, or you get your tickets from you would always be calling the radio stations trying to get free tickets to something. We're giving out 2 tickets to see License to Drive with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman this weekend. Be caller number 10 and take these fucking tickets. And it was great going to the free movie releases because no one called the radio station for real. You'd be the only one, and you usually get the tickets. But they would give out free clothes. They'd be like, License to Drive t-shirt, there it is. And they'd throw it in the back. Here's a shirt that says Uncle Buck. You can walk around the ghetto with an Uncle Buck t-shirt or some shit. But you were happy as hell. But here's how I really made my money. Because, back then we're still talking about, and they do it now in a modern way. But back when it started and back how I remember it, you had VHS tapes, right? So going back to, you get your entertainment there. You want to see a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? Here's a video that I went to Mohawk Mall with somebody's VHS Handycam. And I used to do this a lot, and it made lots of money back then. Or a big fucking camera like this, where you actually physically load a VHS cartridge in. Because you didn't have to worry about dub down equipment. In my case, that's what I did. I started doing that in 1989. I sit at the back. I put the camera on the back of the chair at midnight. No one's there. In the back of zoom in, record it, write down. And my copies always look great. I've seen some terrible ones. That's how we watch movies. Don't you have a copy of the DVD? No. Even now, it's like, no, I gotta, my shit's nowadays, my shit's from Korea and I got it off eBay. But I mean, that's what you would do. It's another thing the corner store would have. But again, we got everything that you got. We got it a little bit later and the quality was suspect. It wasn't actually screen formatted, but you could put the tape in. I remember doing this night after night with my girlfriends of other people's that they shot. Or even, I don't remember watching any of mine. I usually just surrendered tapes. I did that all the way up until VHS-C. Or 8mm. And that's what they meant by it's a hard knock life. It's a hard luck life. You know what I mean? I mean, it's nothing to complain about it, but just there are differences. And it helps with translation because when we give you back art, it becomes fucked up and weird. And you started getting these. And when you did find an authentic artist in the 90s, when his shit came back to you, it was half cheesy and half groundbreaking. We used to make, then there was money. I started producing hip hop. And how I started doing that was way back in 1985, making pause tapes. Pause tapes, back in the Beastie Boys time, they would actually loop tape on a reel-to-reel. Like the beginning of License to Ill, the John Bonham. We had pause tapes. You put your cassette in, pause, rewind on the other deck, unpause, pause, rewind, here it comes, and do that until it was 3 minutes. And then I would sell the beats on these cassettes to people. I need a beat. I got all these rhymes and shit. Just got out of prison for molesting a 12-year-old girl. You make music? Make me a beat tape. Can you make beats? And then I started working in the back of the hip-hop studio, recording hip-hop artists. And I would record anybody, street poets off the street, fucking bona fide artists. And they were bedazzled by me. I was poor too. So I remember borrowing my friend's sampler guitar pedal and running, from a cassette deck into a 1/4-inch guitar pedal and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, pause. Because back then it was only 8-second samplers. All the way up until piecing shit together with 4 tracks. And then eventually I still kept doing it until computers came out. And that was just too easy by that point. It wasn't even fun anymore. Because it was too fucking easy. You just sit back and hit record. It's like, or to make a beat was just too easy. There was no TLC. There was no romanticism. What else did I do back then? I had to stop and think about that. Every time I stop, I keep thinking of new things, that how it was. And it's still that way. It's just not as exciting. Eventually, when you would watch those bootleg movies that I would record in the back, I would take a video camera to a real movie theater, like I told you. When you would watch those back, your ears would eventually get used to the room dynamics and the fucked up picture, and you could watch it like a movie. But it's fucked up because people like me only seen it through a fucked up funhouse mirror. My whole life was schizophrenic and suspect like that. Mm-hmm.